Blake Cousins, Third Phase Moon. Welcome back, everybody from around the world. It is my pleasure to be with you. And what we're all about over here at Third Phase Moon is to share the knowledge from the people like you that listen every week, every Friday night. And we're here to share your experience. And when we do this, other people are able to basically realize that they're not alone. They're dealing with the same phenomenon that other people are dealing with from around the world. And let me tell you, you're going to hear some strange, bizarre things on Third Phase of Moon. But in real life, it's not bizarre or strange whatsoever. This is a daily thing. This is happening to thousands of people. If not every day, I'd say at least every week. There are millions of people that go missing every year throughout this planet. Some of them say that there could be an alien abduction phenomenon happening there. I'm not exactly sure, but I am sure that there are alien abductions. People are being taken. Are all of them not being returned? This is a possibility. This is the subject matter for tonight's show. Third Phase of Moon Radio is all about just sharing one's experience. And is there something that our government should get involved with? Because if people are going missing and there's no explanation for it, no evidence of any kind of criminal intent other than something that could be possibly extraterrestrial, maybe there should be a new agency involved. The X-Files comes to mind. I'm sure there is an X-Files, but they're not letting us aware of this. They've canceled this long ago, studying UFOs. That's why I think it's kind of interesting, because we get to talk about it. People get to share their evidence without being investigated. They're just as public as everywhere else. So it's important to get one story out, and we want to hear your story. So if you've got something you want to share tonight and it's important, go ahead and press number 1 on your keypad, whatever phone you're calling in. Press that number 1 and you'll be taken straight to the top of the call list. We want to hear your incredible encounters. You've got a UFO sighting. It's important to press that number 1, and we'll share your story to the world. So let's bring them in. Let's bring in the callers. We've got a few lined up. 920. Thanks for waiting. You're on Third Phase of Moon. How you doing tonight?
Hello, how you doing?
Doing good, doing
Hello?
good. Where are you calling in from? Yep, got you, loud and clear.
Wisconsin.
All right. You got something
hello,
on your mind tonight? Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to tell you a story that happened to me and my family. And I try to make it as quick as possible, but it's kind of long. But right now my heart is beating really fast. Well, here it goes. I opened my eyes, and I was standing. I couldn't move my body. And I looked at the floor, and I was stepping on something that was metallic. It was cold. And for sure it was not my house. I didn't even know where I was. I was conscious of everything. I just couldn't move my body, and I said to myself, this is another abduction, you know. And but this one was the one that put me on my rails. I mean, this was the ultimate for me. I look behind, and I could see a capsule, an open capsule made out of glass and steel. And then I look to my right. I could see my daughter. She was about maybe about 6, 7 years old, and her mom was laying on a steel bed, and she was calling out her mom, "Mommy, mommy, wake up! Mommy, wake up!" And then there was a little alien gray next to her, and she looked at the little alien gray, and she said, "Why she's not waking up?" And she kept on calling for her mom. She was laying on that steel bed, I should say. And I couldn't move my body. I was hearing and looking at all this, and I couldn't do nothing. And all of a sudden, that little alien gray took her away, and I couldn't speak. And then there was another alien gray that came up to me, and he didn't talk, but telepathically he said, "Move, I'm going to take you to your room." So I started moving behind him, and there was a hallway full of glass containers like the one I came out of, and there was a lot of people in those glass containers, and inside those glass containers, when I was looking at them, some of them had pitch black eyes, another had slit eyes, and there were women, men, and all from all type of ethnics and races. And he told me telepathically, he said, "Don't look at the hybrid." And at that moment, I said, "Well, how does he know that what I'm looking at, you know?" So he said, "I can hear you." And he took me to my room, and he touched the wall, and all of a sudden a hole opened up, and there was my room, and he put me in there. And I sat down on the floor, and then I started hearing a cry of a man saying, "Let me out, let me out." And that woke me up, that transit that I was in. And then I started hearing a little girl screaming, and I thought it was my daughter. And then I got up, and I started hitting the walls, and the man next to my room was hitting the walls too, and he was saying, "Help." So he started yelling for help and was crying out loud, and I was doing the same thing too. And then all of a sudden, the little alien gray opened the door, and he touched my forehead, and I blacked out. Then I don't remember anything from that point on. And then after that, a few weeks passed, and I noticed that my ex-wife, she was not the same. She was doing things that I couldn't comprehend, totally different person. And now my daughter, she's now all grown up, and she's not too attached to me like a father. And my ex, she just ran out. And I could look at her and I could see different things in her physics that it wasn't there. And that's the story that I wanted to share with you.
All right, so let's back it up a little bit. You said your neighbor on the other side of the wall was screaming, "Help, help." So were you guys experiencing the exact same thing? Were two people being abducted at the same time in two separate residences? Am I getting this right?
No, the person yelling help was the person inside of the ship with me. He was in the next room next to mine. I can hear him yelling and screaming. But it was my family that got abducted with me as well. And this is just one of the abductions. But this one, it was the first one that abducted my whole family and not just me, like they usually did.
Okay, so people are not the same once they've been taken aboard, in my opinion. People, they change, absolutely. Can you explain to us what was different about your ex-wife and her mannerisms, why you noticed a change?
Everything. Her attitude, everything. She doesn't cook anymore. She used to be a very, very good cook, and she used to pay a lot of attention to my kids. Now she doesn't want to have nothing to do with my kids. She abandoned my kids. And I'm a single father, and I've been struggling with my kids ever since. And I could tell that she's got pointy ears, not round like the way she used to have it back then. And that she doesn't want to take pictures, every time she's trying to avoid the camera. And she's just a different person. I don't know her anymore. My kid doesn't know her. I mean, she's just totally different.
And your children were with you aboard the craft as well. They were taken. Have they changed?
Amazingly, my kid did not got taken, but my daughter did. And she's like, how would I put this? She knows who I am. She wants to be. Sometimes she, like back in the day, she wanted to be with me, but not anymore. And she's been very disrespectful to me in these days, and not like she used to be. I mean, it's a totally different person between mom and daughter, and my kid is always with me. I didn't see my kid abducted. I was just my daughter, my ex, and me, but my kid wasn't. And it's strange that my kid is always with me at all times, and the good and the bad and ups and downs. So it's
So
strange.
what?
You know,
What about your?
yeah,
Does your ex-wife? Does she think you've changed? Do you feel any change? What do you think happened aboard that ship? Why?
I
What happened to your ex-wife?
one day we had an argument, and I told her, I know that you're not the same person. And then after all that yelling, she just kept quiet. I know that you're not. What do you mean I'm not the same person? I said, you're not the same one. You're not the same person that I met once before when we were younger, you know, in our ages. And she got angry, and she slammed the door. She walked out, and she started, you know, she's just different. She's not the same person physically. And you know, when you're with a person for so many years, I was with her for 18 years, and you can see changes that it wasn't there before. I mean, everything, physically and emotionally, everything is different. I know it's not her. The way she
Let's
eats,
get a little bit
the
more.
way she does things.
The way she eats. Okay, so her whole mannerism, her whole way of presence is nothing like the way she was after this event.
Correct. And she knows
this is
that
straight out of like
all
the
of us,
Body Snatchers.
I had to
Like a
put it
Body
like that
Snatcher.
out there, otherwise no one will talk about this. Blake, I mean, I'm one of the ones that really wants to make a difference. I'm one of the ones that's been through this, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of being abducted. I'm tired to listen to ignorant people saying that they don't exist when families like mine have been abducted and has been broken by these entities that they don't care about human life. I mean, some people think that they're here for doing good. No, that's not the agenda. There's different types of entities that come from different parts of the galaxies and universe, even in dimensions. And these grays are evil. They're evil, just plain evil. They're mixed with the ancient Egyptians. And it's a whole story that I know that one day I'm going to call back and tell you about it. And but these grays are just evil people, evil entities that do harm to humanity. I'm surprised they didn't took me apart like I saw in other parts of the ship when they had the humans all dismembered, and it's disgusting. It's just really bad.
Yes, tell us more about being on the ship, because you know what, man, I really do appreciate your passion and your coming out and just sharing this incredible emotional experience. I'm sure it's not easy, but sometimes the truth isn't easy to hear, and I believe we're hearing an honest opinion, a truth from your side of things. And in my opinion, there's something going on in regards to the alien agenda, and it's not all rainbows and waterfalls either. I do believe that their main agenda is to harvest minerals and precious minerals from planets and other planets from other galaxies. And we're just one of these many planets that have precious materials that they love. And a lot of people say that they are still using us as basically slaves and to do their bidding, or otherwise they've got all kinds of uses for the body, that they could do all kinds of these experiments. They're not experiments, they're basically uses for the human body that they've developed.
Here's what I know, Blake, and this is a totally different abduction. I hope we have time for me to tell you this, but I'm going to debunk the agenda of them against the humans. I was once abducted, and all I can see was just the top of the trees. I was floating in the thin air, and I could see an alien gray behind me, on top of my head. You know, I was just laying on thin air, like you know what I mean, like just floating with my. Anyways, the alien was behind me. He had like a clipboard, an electronic clipboard. He had a long black cape. He had an insignia in his left chest. And there was two other grays where my feet were. And they were taking me to this trail in the woods. And then all of a sudden I could see the shiny ship. It was just landed right there. And then I could see the ramp. And they put me up to the ramp. And when I got into the ramp, I could see different rooms. And each one of these rooms had different prehistoric animals and plants in them. and the last room at the right in the middle of the ship, they stopped me right there in that room, and all of a sudden, you ain't gonna believe this, but is it God on His truth? And if I'm saying, there was a Yeti. The Yeti got up, and then he yelled really hard, and he banged the wall of the ship, and I can hear it was like a sound of a bell, like a church, boom. And he started yelling, and then he freaked me out. Imagine about 7, 8 feet tall monster, and all I could see, he looked like the hair looked like a Pekingese dog with the round black eyes and short nose, kind of like Chewbacca, but with the eyes were completely black and round, and that scared me a lot. And then all of a sudden, the little alien gray with the cape moved his hand in front of his face, and then he moved away. He sat back down where he was sitting, and then they took me to the table, and then all of a sudden, all I can move is my hips and my one arm, and I grabbed one of the little alien grays, and I pressed him really hard in his arm, and then he started yelling like a dolphin, and that's when the guy with the black cape came, touched my forehead, and he laid me back, and then I could see this ball full of needles. And this ball was approaching my face, and then I could feel all the needles. They were poking me with needles in my thighs, and one from in the back was the one that hurt the most, and the one in the ear. And they put an implant in my ear, which I still have, and I'm full of little red dots in my body, and because of that. And here's what I know. What I know is that the agenda is that they want to replace humanity, and they've been doing this ever since day one. They've been trying to contaminate the human gene pool with their version of a hybrid human, and nowadays they're mixed among us. This is why the Bible says that they made it with women, and the angels came down to earth and had sex with them. That was all. It's not real. What happened is that they have been abducting people and creating these sons of the gods, where they were called the Nephilim, and they're still among us. And they're not giants, but they're in our size right now. And that's why there's people. There's so many crimes like the ones that has been going on in New York and these other states that have been shooting. All of this because of these hybrid people. They're among us, and the government knows about it. And what they're doing is that they're giving Social Security and all these documents to mix them with us human beings. And this is why you've seen in other different.
Let's do this. This caller has a lot of passion, and he sounds like he knows about the agenda. There's an agenda, obviously, and we've got to find out exactly what it is. I'm sure there are some aliens out there that have helped out in abduction case scenarios. We've heard Travis Walton had a medical issue, and later he had that medical issue resolved, maybe because of this abduction. We've heard this phenomenon more than multiple times, so I'm not saying that all of the alien presence is dangerous, but I guarantee you, where there's good, there's bad. We've got more Third Phase Moon Radio coming up. We'll be right back. Stand by. Blake Cousins, Third Phase Moon, and we're back. And let me tell you, this is a hot topic tonight. The alien abduction phenomenon and the alien agenda. What are they up to? What are the alien greys up to? Well, this caller right now has been explaining to us that it's not all good. His family has been changed. His family has been ripped apart, and he believes possibly. Let me ask him: is that possibly that he thinks his wife is now a hybrid or a hybrid alien? She's not the same person that he married. Welcome back to the show. Let me get your first name again.
Lewis.
All right, Lewis. Okay, so is that question fair?
Go ahead. You can ask me again. Go ahead.
Well, so you're basically claiming that your wife is possibly an alien hybrid. She's not the same woman you married.
You're right. She's not the same person. She's not just the same person. She's a totally different person. And sometimes I just wonder. I would love to remember what really happened to her, but all I can remember is that she was just laying on that steel bed, and then they took me away with my daughter, and I don't know what happened. After that, I just don't know. All I hear was just screaming and yelling, and that was it.
Let me get to some of the detail in regards to the alien entities, as you call them, the beings, these greys. Could you describe to me what their mannerism was like, what they were wearing? Did you smell anything aboard the ship?
Yes, there was a bad smell in the ship, and it was humid. It was not. It was weird because the floor was cold, but the inside of the ship was humid, and the walls were pretty cold, but still humid. It's really hard to explain. And they would have this one gray would have a long cape like the ones from The Matrix, something like that. And it was a long cape, and he had a symbol. Those symbols that they have in the hospital with the triangle in the middle and the half rings crossing each other. That's the symbol he had in his jacket, and they were probably messing around with some different DNAs from different era, because I remember prehistoric plants and that I've seen in books and History Channel that and even I saw one of them different animals that I've never seen before. It's just they're messing around with DNA.
Yeah, this is quite amazing. He's like wearing a cape. These guys, they have a culture. Obviously, they wouldn't be wearing capes unless they had some kind of, a mind of presence that they want to impress in a way. So, do they come across as arrogant or helpful, or basically like you were basically you were incarcerated?
Didn't talk at all. The one with the cape didn't talk at all. It was just one with the cape. The other ones were just bare naked. They have no clothing. Just one. This guy had his long cape with his symbol on his chest, and he was the one with the clipboard. I believe that he was the one in charge of everything. That's what I remember. I never time that I see an alien gray with clothing on him or any type of clothing, but I believe it's all about ramps.
What was your first reaction while you're aboard the ship? You're in there, you're seeing this, you're hearing screaming, you know your family's with you. The first thing I would think about is basically, you're talking to Blake Cousins, Third Phase Moon. I'd go for my cell phone, and I would hopefully try and record that. But all that aside, escape, protect the family. What were you thinking? Fight or flight?
I was angry. I was angry because they abducted my family, and not like they didn't abduct me like they usually did back in the past. back in the days, I mean, they took my family. They took my daughter, my precious daughter. I mean, they took my wife at the time, you know, and I was super angry. I just wanted to, you know, do something, but I couldn't move. I couldn't just do nothing. All I can see and hear and just talk to these entities with my thoughts. That's all I could do. They had total control over my body. They would tell me to move, to stop, to sit, and that's what I did. I couldn't control it.
Yeah, basically like a frequency. They fine-tune the brain's frequency so they could basically treat you like a remote control robot toy, or basically it sounds like you're at their will and mercy of whatever they want you to do. You have no choice.
Exactly. That's how it happened.
Were you saying that you witnessed like something that you would compare to like genetic engineered animals that these things were developing, these alien grays? Could you explain to us what they look like?
It was strange because when they put me up the ramp, it was a hallway, and I could see different openings. Like, you know, there was no doors. It was just rooms with openings. Whatever was inside of those rooms, it could not come out. And when they were passing me through the hallway, I could see to my right and left. I could see different plants. All it started with the plants, exotic plants with beautiful colors, and then they kept on pushing me forward, and I could see sea creatures, and then I could see prehistoric animals, and then at the very end, I could see they'd stop right there at the very end, and then that's where I could see the Yeti. It was just a fur ball on the floor, but when he got up, that thing was humongous, and he was big in all aspects. And he got angry, like if I did something to him, and he banged the door of not the door, the wall of the ship, and that's when I heard the sound of the ship was this guy's strength, and that really scared me. And that's when they pushed me forward, and they laid me in the bed, and that's how I got up and sit in a sitting position and grabbed that alien by the hand, and I pressed it as hard as I could with my right hand, because I couldn't move the rest of my body but one arm. And then that's when he started yelling like a dolphin, like he started making this noise. And then all of a sudden, the guy with the key, he came along and he put his 2 fingers in my forehead, and then he laid me back onto the bed. I couldn't move. And then I could see the wall full of needles. It was like a whole bunch of needles in one ball, a big ball, like a basketball, as big as a basketball. And that's when that ball started coming closer to my face, and then I could start feeling them touching my feet, my hands, my arms, and they started poking me with different types of instruments. I don't know. And I blacked out. It was really painful. Next day when I woke up, I was in my bed my bed had blood on it, my pillow, everything. I was hurt. I couldn't move. I was in such pain. I didn't go to work for about a week. And this has been a few years, like about 6-7 years ago. But I still remember, and it just bugged me. And I really want the word out there and just letting people know that one day, sooner or later, this is going to be undeniable. And people are going to have to accept what's going on.
You know what, Louis? You're absolutely 100% correct. And you know what I want to do is I want to invite you to join us on a special project that we're working on. We're working on a serious project about people's encounters, such as yours. And I'm just hoping that maybe you yourself and could come on camera, and we could send out a camera crew or what have you. And I've got your contact phone number. You mind us giving you a call sometime later this week after the weekend and maybe discuss this possibility, Louis?
Sure. Yes.
All right, Louis. Well, as much as we appreciate you sharing your show, your incredible testimony, we would love to have you back on the show. And it was very brave of you, and it's amazing. What an amazing program we had tonight, just because of this one caller, Louis. Unbelievable, undeniable, in my opinion. thanks so much for calling into Third Phase Moon. We'll talk to you,
Thank you,
sometime this week, and look forward to doing it. Thank you, Louis. Be safe.
All right. Thank you.
All right, so everybody, join us back next week, Friday. We're going to be broadcasting a new time. So if you're on the East Coast, it starts at 11 p.m., and if you're on the West Coast, it starts at 8 p.m. Hawaii time, 6 p.m. as usual. Everybody, keep your eyes on the skies. Stay safe, and I want to get your comments about Lewis's experience. Have you been aboard a ship, an alien extraterrestrial craft? Does some of what you heard tonight ring any bells? Leave those comments, and don't be shy. We want to hear them, your experiences. Blake Cousins, we'll see you again next time.
Control, this is flight.